This is the Highly Sensitive Person podcast for people who experience the world brighter, louder, and more intensely. Join me on a journey of acceptance of our highly sensitive person traits. Welcome to episode 47. I'm your host, Kelly. This is a twice-monthly podcast about what it's like to have sensory processing sensitivity. Before I jump into today's topic, I wanted to share a comment that a reader left on the blog. I'm going to omit her name for privacy reasons. This is what she wrote. This is big for me. Wow. It was not until just 3 days ago I finally stumbled onto an article about HSPs. It has changed my beliefs of myself in such a grand manner. I am 44 years old, and my whole life I've heard the exact statements and words over and over again to the point that I have been obsessed with figuring out what is wrong with me. But 3 days ago, it shifted to what is right with me. It's a huge relief, and I thank you to all involved. The words I heard my whole life, you overanalyze everything, you're way too sensitive, you're so emotional, etc. Being the knowledge junkie and seek of the truth, I have read most of what I could find so far and taking all the quizzes, and it's almost been scary. My hair stands up to hear me being described almost to a T. In the past few months, I've become filled with something so powerful, and I'm trying to solve this puzzle to find out more about myself. Thank you so much for that wonderful comment. I love to share things like that because I think we all like to know that we're not alone. And I think a lot of us have realizations like the one I just read, that big aha moment where you realize, wow, I'm not the only one who feels this way. So let's jump into today's topic. A couple weeks ago, I traveled to the other side of the country to visit family and friends, and I found myself at a big family party. Now, everybody's family is different, so it's hard to generalize in any way, but it just so happens that I really liked all the people that were there. I'm really fortunate that all my in-laws are really cool and nobody makes me uncomfortable, nobody annoys me. They're all really nice, good people. And I rarely see them, so I was happy to be at this party. But it did remind me how parties that are hours and hours long can wear on me, no matter how much I like the people that are there. At parties like this, there's probably going to be loud people, music, dancing, cooking, singing, and talking, of course. And people might drink a little bit too much and act a little wild and crazy. So here are my tips on how to deal with overwhelm at long parties. And these are mainly for when you feel tapped out on small talk and overwhelmed by people. And they do apply to introverts mostly, I would say. But extroverted HSPs also run the risk of getting overwhelmed also. Even though they are re-energized by social activity, all of the other stimulation and everything going on around them for hours and hours can wear them out too. So my first tip is find an empty room. Now, depending on where you are and how comfortable you are in this person's house and wandering around and going into different bedrooms, there may be an empty room you can duck into for a few minutes. And the main thing I want you to remember is this, that no one is going to notice if you're gone for a little while. People aren't watching you as closely as you might think. If you take a break in a quiet area, whether it's a bedroom or if you go outside or even go sit in your car for a few minutes, nobody is going to notice, probably. So don't feel weird about it. Just do it. Do what you need to do. Tip number 2, observe other people who are doing an activity. Maybe other guests at the party are playing a game, watching something on TV, playing a sport outside, whatever. Pop in and watch what's going on and act interested. This gives you a break from having to talk directly to other people for a while. Even better, why not participate in the activity? If you see people pulling out a board game, jump in there and be a part of it. If people are shooting hoops, why not join in as well? It gives you an activity and you don't have to think about small talk. Tip number 4, put yourself to work. Does somebody need help preparing food, setting the table, cleaning up? Because no one's going to bother you if you're busy peeling potatoes. Be the person to volunteer to do the beer run. All of these things keep you busy and keep you from having to think of small talk and keep conversations going. And remember, it's not that you don't like to talk to people, it's just that after many hours, you kind of just feel worn out by it. The next tip is play with the pets. I was once at a party where I didn't know very many people, and after a while, I felt worn out by trying to make small talk. So I pretended to really be into one of the guest dogs and I played with this dog and I pet him. And not only is it fun, it gives you a break from having to deal with humans for a minute. Tip number 6, don't carpool. Have your own ride so you can leave when you want. Being trapped at a party when you're ready to leave and then you can't because you drove with somebody else is the worst. I wrote a blog post about this phenomenon and I'll have a link to it in the show notes. Lastly, here's a tip about small talk. Just ask people about themselves. It might sound pretty obvious, but since you're an observant person, listen to what people say to you and be curious about it. If they mention a new job, a hobby, a vacation that they just went on, ask them questions about things that they just said, and this will keep the conversation going pretty easily. But what about if there are people at this party that you don't like? How about those family members or acquaintances or friends who ask inappropriate questions, who have belittled you in the past? The person who's mean to their spouse, the narcissist, the alcoholic. How do you deal with those awkward situations? Well, that's not as easy. And there are probably entire books written about that. I'd love to hear your tips, but here are some of mine. And the obvious one is number 1, physically avoid the person. It's self-explanatory. If you see the person you don't like coming towards you or entering the room, maybe you just go to a different room. Number 2, try not to take that person's comments personally. If you see this undesirable person coming for you, expect that they're going to annoy you, as they always do. Acknowledge that you feel that way about them and try to face it with a smile and tell yourself that you are above it. Check out episode 38 of the podcast for my episode about dealing with criticism. And to expand on that point, remember that you are above the BS. If there's drama going on around you, tell yourself that you are better than this. You are above it. Next, tell yourself that you aren't alone. Other people at the party probably feel belittled or offended or annoyed by this same person too. Knowing that you're not alone may help you deal with this person without getting too riled up. And I'm going to end on a corny note, but try to think of the good things. Think of the things that you could be grateful for. Be grateful for the good times that you've had, that you even have people who care about you in your life, how fortunate you are to have family and friends, even if they sometimes drive you bonkers. I'd love to hear your tips with how you deal with long, hours-long parties with family, with friends, and with people you don't really like. Check out the show notes for this episode at highlysensitiveperson.net/episode 47. And while you're there at the blog, you can find dozens and dozens of blog posts about everything related to being HSP. If you like this podcast and if you've ever found value in it, please support the show at patreon.com/HSP. And thank you so much to Kelly Hess for your support on Patreon, and thank you for getting the ball rolling. Guys, just a $1 donation makes a huge difference. So check out patreon.com/HSP. Don't forget to leave a positive review on iTunes. Check out my book on Amazon. Blah, blah, blah. You know all that stuff. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate you spending this time with me, and I'll talk to you in 2 weeks.